Hi, I'm Lieutenant Redfearn with the Rock Hill Police Department. I'm here today to discuss with you financial and fraud type crimes and how not to make yourself a victim. Today I have two guests with me. I have former detective with the Rock Hill Police Department, Brad Sims, who is now a financial fraud crime specialist with Family Trust Federal Credit Union. Thank you for being here, Brad.
Thank you.
And I also have Detective Keith Dugan, who is our financial crimes detective at the Rock Hill Police Department and has 30+ years experience in investigating these type crimes. Keith, today can you go over with us what you're seeing in the financial world?
Sure. Thank you, Lieutenant. So what we're seeing in the year 2016 and 17, beginning with the months of January and February, we saw a major rise in financial crimes. They are trends that we've been watching and following for years now. The four major trends in the financial fraud groups are identity fraud being the largest of the four. And then we have forgery involving paper checks and documents that have been manipulated, manufactured, or forged. Of course, you'll always have your telephone scam, wire fraud type scam. Those come in online and by phone. They sometimes involved businesses, due paid bills, IRS fraud schemes, or forms of trickery. Last, and one that we're starting to see on the rise quite a bit in the area is our credit card, debit card frauds. Those are combo cards. The cards could work on a PIN number basis inside of an ATM machine or on a credit side backed by a major supported credit card company. What we do see on the credit card frauds is that sometimes you may have the actual card with you, and sometimes you may have lost your card, or it may report it stolen. So depending on where that comes into play, we wanted to address and kind of show you how this thing works out mechanically. If you can picture yourself at an ATM machine and you've called the police department and stated that I no longer have my actual debit card. It's no longer with me, it's been stolen. We would do a police report and kind of continue the investigation from there, looking at where the card was used at. We would extract video and then try to make our suspects from there. If you call me and tell me that you still have your hard card, you still have the debit credit card, well, then we actually would contact that financial institution. Today, we partnered with Family Trust and fraud specialist Brad Sims to kind of show you the motions of how this thing comes into play, ways it presents, and ways to shut it down or to hinder its operation. Brad, thanks again for helping us out today going over this. If you could give them just a short display on how this actually works.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And what we need to really look at first is the card itself. And we think about our credit debit cards, and all of our cards have a magnetic strip on the back. Now, we're not going to go into the chip. That's a little bit different topic. But right now, we're focused on the magnetic strip on the back. And if you think about that, this technology is World War II technology. For the older crowd might even think of this. This is actually the same technology as a VCR tape. If you remember the old magnetic strips of the VCR tapes, it's the same exact thing. So what the bad guy wants is the data off the back of this card, and that data never changes. So that data is always the same on the back. So in order to get it, what a criminal would do is they would put a skimmer, which is a fake faceplate, over top of an ATM or point of sale or anywhere you swipe your card. And what it does, it captures that data off the back of the card. For whenever they come back later, they can pull this thing off and they can actually get your card data, and then they have your card numbers. So what we suggest to do is whenever you go to the ATM or any type of point of sale, keep this in mind. Always try to remember cover and pull. If you can cover your PIN number, just with your opposite hand, whichever one it may be.
So you're kind of cupping it.
Yeah, try to cover it, because you got to think of it twofold. So if a bad guy gets your card data off the back of the card and it's been skimmed at an ATM, he's also going to need your PIN number. Because if they have your PIN number, they can make their own cards and they can instantly take cash out of your account. So what we suggest is to cover that PIN number, because even if they happen to get that data off the back, they can only run it as a credit. if they don't get your PIN, it's a little bit easier to dispute on your end, and it's quicker to get your money back from your financial institution.
Okay.
So keep that in mind, but you always want to cover that PIN. Now, before you swipe any card or any place you put it into, you should always try to pull on the card reader. Now, that could be at an ATM, gas pumps, car washes, anywhere you're actually inserting your card. It should be second nature to pull on that reader before you swipe it. And the thought process behind that is if the bad guy needs to come back and get his device off, and he's not going to permanently glue this thing to the ATM. So he's going to need to get it back, and most of the time it's two-sided tape. If you pull on it and it pops off in your hand, well, then obviously you have something that's not supposed to be on that device, and it's don't use the device from that point, because then we know that there's something fraudulent going on there. If you do happen to go to an ATM and you cover your PIN and you pull on the card reader and it does pop off in your hand, obviously don't use ATM. Contact local law enforcement, contact the financial institution, and let them know what's going on. They can send somebody out to do the appropriate response, and hopefully we can stop these criminals from getting the card data.
You said some interesting things here on the actual mag strip, the piece on the back of this card. What type of personal identification does it have? Does it have your date of birth or your social security on it?
No, nothing like that. The only thing that's usually on the back of these cards is called track data. Usually it's the 16 digits that's on the front, and some institutions actually put your name on the data as well. So if a bad guy gets that data, he's going to have a little bit of couple coding of the card, but he's not going to have any identifying such as your social security number or anything like that. It's only going to have the card number, maybe a few digits that the bank uses, and this sometimes has your name on it. It depends on the institution itself.
Thank you again, Brad. Appreciate your help with this today. Again, partnering with Family Trust and going over the ATM fraud side of it today has been very important. You learned several tips today in reference to fraud prevention and electronic credit card, debit card fraud prevention. So again, what we went over was on the ATM transactions themselves. When you're using your card, you want to make sure that you approach the machine, look at it real good, make sure that you don't see any camera devices. You also want to pull on the actual portal that you're putting your card into. This would also relate to point of sale systems at a convenience store. This would also relate to gas pumps and gas pump skimming devices inside of the gas pump. But then most importantly, Brad told us to cup our hands over our PIN number. So that 4-digit PIN number, that personal identification number that is assigned only to you when you signed up for your card, it's very important that you cover that, so that way if you are being filmed, they can't actually get that number. And what that does relates to you later on. If you're filing a claim or dispute and they actually have your PIN number, it may delay that process a little bit, but it also gives them access directly to the accounts to pull out cash. So you definitely want to guard that PIN number. It's very important. But again, this is a very broad subject, and there's quite a bit of volume to it, so we are kind of going pretty fast with you on this, but we definitely wanted to sum it up today and partner with Family Trust to show you what it actually looks like and ways to shut it down.
Thank you, Keith. We'd like to thank you for joining us today. Hopefully this was a learning experience for you, an educational piece on how not to be a victim of financial crimes or fraud, especially dealing with your ATM PIN card. We'd like to thank Brad Sims and Family Trust Federal Credit Union for partnering with us to help educate our community and be a partner with us. Also like to thank Detective Dugan and both of you's knowledge that you have given to the community today.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lieutenant.